Welcome to HD Rare Coins, your ultimate source for rare coins, fascinating history, and the thrill of discovery. From legendary pennies to hidden gems, we explore the world of numismatics one amazing coin at a time. There's something magical about holding history in your hands, a tiny piece of metal that bridges time, carrying with it the echoes of great leaders, daring feats, and the artistry of those who came before us. And every so often, among the billions of coins minted and exchanged in daily life, one emerges from obscurity to capture the imagination of collectors, historians, and dreamers alike. This is the story of one such coin, the 2021 D, crossing the Delaware, quarter dollar. At first glance, it seems like any other modern US quarter. It's light in the hand, unassuming in your pocket, and easily mistaken for spare change. But look a little closer, and you'll discover a bold depiction: General George Washington standing tall, resolute, his sword drawn, gazing into the unknown as he leads his army across the icy waters of the Delaware River. This isn't just a coin. It's a tribute to grit, strategy, and the unyielding spirit that shaped a nation. To understand the true significance of this quarter, we need to go back. Way back. December 25, 1776. The American Revolution was floundering. Morale was low, troops were deserting, and it seemed the fledgling cause for independence might flicker out before it had a chance to truly ignite. But then came the night of the crossing. Washington, with his army weary and worn, made a daring decision. Under cover of darkness, amidst a brutal winter storm, they crossed the Delaware River to mount a surprise attack on the Hessian forces stationed in Trenton, New Jersey. It was a gamble, bold, dangerous, and desperate. But it worked. The attack was successful, and the morale boost it delivered helped reinvigorate the revolutionary cause. It's this moment, the exact breath between despair and triumph, that the 2021 D quarter captures. This isn't the sanitized image of Washington we often see, serene and regal. No, this Washington is active. Commanding. Alive with determination. You can almost feel the snow biting at his cheeks, the river ice cracking beneath the boats, and the tension in every muscle of the soldiers rowing toward their fate. The coin's design, crafted with such intention, was the result of collaboration between the U.S. Mint's finest artists and engravers. The obverse, or head's side, features the familiar portrait of George Washington, first introduced in 1932, but with a twist. It's been modified to reflect his appearance during the Revolutionary War era. You'll notice subtle differences: more defined cheekbones, a firmer expression, a touch more austerity. It's these small changes that remind us we're not looking at the first president, we're looking at the commander-in-chief in the thick of war. Turn the coin over to its reverse, and you're met with an evocative scene. Washington leads the charge, his cape billowing, sword in hand, ready to change the course of history. Behind him, soldiers row with focus and urgency. The composition is tight, deliberate. There's a sense of forward momentum, as if the coin itself is moving across the river. Now, 2021 was a transitional year for U.S. coinage. It marked the end of the long-running America the Beautiful quarter series, which had graced our change with national parks and landmarks for over a decade. The Crossing the Delaware quarter was intended as a bridge, a one-year issue to transition between series. But its design, historical significance, and limited mintage at the Denver Mint gave it something extra. Something special. The D Mint mark, indicating the Denver Mint, might seem like a minor detail, but it plays a huge role in the coin's identity and rarity. While Philadelphia and San Francisco also mint coins, Denver issues often yield some of the cleanest strikes and most sought-after varieties. And it's from Denver that our remarkable 2021 D quarter came into the world, struck, released, circulated, and then somehow, through an unlikely series of events, discovered in pristine, gem-quality condition. Here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. Out of the millions of 2021 D quarters minted and tossed into cash registers, vending machines, and pockets across America, a handful began to raise eyebrows in the numismatic community. Some showed striking anomalies: die clashes, doubling, misalignments. These weren't just quirks. They were treasure maps for collectors. One particular specimen, discovered in early 2023, stood out immediately. Found by an unsuspecting collector during a routine coin roll hunt in Colorado, this quarter was unlike any other. It displayed an extraordinary die break running diagonally across Washington's chest, known as a cut. The detail on the reverse was unusually sharp, almost as if it had been struck with a freshly engraved die. And the fields, the flat surfaces around the raised design, were nearly flawless. No scratches. No nicks. Just a silvery canvas that shimmered under magnification. The coin was submitted to PCGS, one of the most respected coin grading services in the world. After weeks of authentication, analysis, and debate, it received a grade of MS 68+. That MS stands for mint state, indicating it had never been circulated. The 68 is out of a possible 70, a near-perfect score. And the plus is reserved for coins that push the very edge of their grade bracket, exhibiting qualities that flirt with perfection. Collectors took notice. Social media forums lit up. YouTube channels buzzed. TikToks went viral. Suddenly, everyone wanted to know more about this mysterious, nearly perfect 2021 D crossing the Delaware quarter. Rumors swirled. Some said it was an experimental strike. Others believed it might have been part of a limited test batch. Whatever the case, one thing was certain: it was rare. Incredibly rare, but rarity alone doesn't make a coin valuable. It's the intersection of rarity, condition, historical significance, and demand that creates value. And in this case, everything aligned. Auction houses began circling. Offers were made, first in the thousands, then tens of thousands. But the owner held firm, knowing they had something truly special. After months of negotiations, the coin was finally listed at a premier numismatic auction in late 2024. Bidding started modestly. But it didn't stay modest for long. Within minutes, the price surged past $50,000. Then $75,000. Then $100,000. The room was electric. Phones rang. Bidders raised their paddles. And finally, with the sharp crack of a gavel, the auctioneer brought it down at a jaw-dropping $113,000. That's right. 1/4. 25 cents. Sold for $113,000. It's a number that boggles the mind, and yet, for those who understand the world of rare coins, it makes perfect sense. This wasn't just any quarter. It was a modern masterpiece, historical tribute, and a once-in-a-lifetime find. What makes this story even more remarkable is how accessible it all is. This wasn't a coin that had been locked away in a vault for decades or passed down through the hands of royalty. It came from everyday circulation. It passed through fingers just like yours and mine. It might have sat in a cup holder, a drawer, or a forgotten piggy bank. And that's the magic of it. Every coin in your pocket, every bit of change you get back at the grocery store, any one of them might be hiding a story like this. And maybe, just maybe, the next legendary find is already in your hand, waiting to be discovered. The world of coin collecting isn't just for the elite or the experts. It's a universe where curiosity, patience, and a good eye can lead to extraordinary discoveries. And the 2021 D crossing the Delaware quarter is proof of that. When you take another look at the 2021 D crossing the Delaware quarter, it's easy to see why it resonates so deeply. It's not just a coin, it's a story frozen in metal. The more time you spend with it, the more you begin to appreciate its layers. Every detail has meaning. Washington's posture is forward-leaning, deliberate. He's not being depicted as a statesman or a politician. He's being shown as a leader in the midst of uncertainty, a man burdened by the fate of a revolution, yet undeterred. Look at his hand on the sword, not raised in aggression, but firmly gripped, ready if needed. It's a statement of resolve, not conquest. Behind him, the soldiers are stoic, focused. There's no chaos. No flare. Just men united by purpose, moving in rhythm across treacherous waters. It's a subtle but powerful reminder that the founding of a nation wasn't accomplished through grand gestures alone. It was done through grit, unity, and the courage to move forward in the dark. Even the choice of perspective in the design tells a story. The viewer is placed slightly behind and below Washington, as if we are passengers in the boat ourselves. We are invited into the moment, not as spectators, but as participants. That's rare in coin design. Most coins are composed as distant vignettes, capturing a scene as if through a lens. But this one pulls you in, and let's not forget the river. It's not a smooth surface. You can see the suggestion of icy currents, choppy and cold. The artist, Benjamin Sowards, and sculptor Michael Gaudioso, deliberately avoided making the Delaware River a calm passage. No, this journey was dangerous. It was cold, uncertain, and miserable. And they chose to reflect that truth in the metal, honoring not just the triumph, but the sacrifice. Now, move back to the obverse, the front of the coin, and you'll notice something else. The image of Washington, originally designed by Laura Garden Fraser back in the 1930s, was finally given center stage in a circulating coin. For decades, her work had been overlooked in favor of John Flanagan design. But in 2021, Fraser's bold and dignified portrait made its long-overdue debut. There's something poetic about that, two revolutions represented on one coin, one from 1776 and one from the 20th century struggle for artistic recognition. It began like any other morning. A woman stepped into her local coffee shop in Philadelphia, fished a few coins from her wallet, and dropped a quarter onto the counter. The barista, moving fast, gave it a quick glance, just another coin. But if someone had paused to look, to really look, they would have seen something remarkable, the graceful figure of a woman with her arms outstretched, her body arched as if caught in mid-flight, a bird in the background soaring against a rising sun. It wasn't just another quarter. It was a 2022 P. Maya Angelou $quarter. And it wasn't just currency, it was history in your hand. For generations, the faces on American currency remained largely the same: presidents, founding fathers, and generals, figures etched in the traditional stone of American legacy. But change, like a whisper at first, began building into something undeniable. And in 2022, that change became strikingly real when the U.S. Mint launched the American Women Quarters program, aiming to celebrate the contributions of influential American women. And first on that list, deservedly, unmistakably, was Dr. Maya Angelou. To tell the story of the Maya Angelou quarter is to tell the story of a woman who redefined what it means to have a voice in the world. Born in 1928 in St. Louis, Missouri, Maya Angelou endured more hardship in her early years than most do in a lifetime. But she refused to be defined by trauma. Instead, she transformed it. Her voice, rich, deliberate, poetic, carried her from the Jim Crow South to the world stage, where she became not only a writer and poet, but a performer, activist, and guiding light for millions. When she stood at the podium in 1993 to recite her poem On the Pulse of Morning at President Clinton's inauguration, she wasn't just making history, she was shaping it. And when the U.S. Mint announced that she would be the first woman honored in the American Women Quarter series, it felt right. Natural. Long overdue, the 2022 Maya Angelou quarter wasn't just another release. It was a statement. Minted in Philadelphia with a P mark, this particular version gained quiet notoriety among collectors shortly after its release, not only for its beauty and symbolism, but for what would come to light later, an exceedingly rare variant, with qualities that would send shockwaves through the numismatic world. But before we get to that stunning twist, let's look at the artistry behind the coin. Designed by artist Emily Damstra and sculpted by Craig Campbell, the quarter's reverse side is rich with symbolism. Angelou stands proud, her arms raised in celebration, her body forming a posture of openness and welcome. The bird behind her is not incidental, it's an intentional reference to her famous memoir I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, a title that has become synonymous with the struggle for voice, freedom, and dignity. The rays of light spreading behind her form a halo-like motif. To some, it recalls the rising sun, a nod to new beginnings and resilience. To others, it's reminiscent of stained glass windows, giving her the aura of a saint or spiritual guide. Either way, the effect is striking. She is elevated, not just as a historical figure, but as a symbol of American strength and creativity. On the obverse, you'll find a familiar but newly rendered portrait of George Washington. This version, created by acclaimed sculptor Laura Garden Fraser in the 1930s but passed over for decades in favor of male sculptors' versions, finally took its rightful place in 2022. The decision to pair Fraser's Washington with Angelou's reverse creates a beautiful symmetry, two artists from different eras, finally sharing the same coin. It's a powerful and poetic justice. Now, let's travel to the Philadelphia Mint, where this coin was born. Minting coins might seem like a mechanical process, but in truth, it's a blend of precision engineering, craftsmanship, and, occasionally, chance. For the Maya Angelou quarter, over 300 million pieces were struck at the Philadelphia Mint in 2022. That number might seem huge. But like grains of sand, only a few stand out. And one in particular would soon gain a reputation unlike any other. It began quietly. A collector named Lisa, a retired librarian from Maryland, was sorting through her change one evening. She had heard about the new quarters featuring women and decided, out of curiosity, to start collecting them. She had no formal training in coin grading or rare errors, but what she lacked in technical skill, she made up for in intuition. One Maya Angelou quarter caught her eye. It looked brighter somehow. Sharper. As if the details were etched deeper into the surface. She flipped it under a lamp. The bird's feathers seemed unusually well defined. Angelou's dress lines were crisper, her fingers clearer. Something about it felt different. Unsure, she sent it to a friend who had a background in numismatics. He took one look under magnification and nearly dropped it. The coin had what's known as a full-strike high-relief impression, an exceedingly rare feature, typically only seen on proof coins or test strikes. This wasn't a typical quarter. It had been struck with an unusually fresh die, possibly with slightly more pressure, resulting in phenomenal detail and luster. Even more intriguing, it bore subtle doubling on the lettering, specifically the phrase, United States of America. That meant it was a double die variety, an error caused during the hubbing process. When the die receives more than one misaligned impression, that error, in perfect condition, turned this ordinary quarter into a unicorn. They submitted the coin to NGC, and it received a Mint State 69 grade. For context, that's just 1 point shy of perfection. The graders noted the strike, the doubling, and the mirror-like finish. Their label didn't just read 2022 P Maya Angelou quarter. It read 2022 P Maya Angelou quarter, doubled die, high relief, MS69. In the world of coins, that's a mic drop. As word spread, collectors and dealers began combing through their coins. Searches surged online. Coin roll hunting videos exploded across YouTube. And yet, despite tens of thousands of searches, no identical specimen was found. Variants appeared, yes. Doubling on the wing here. Slight relief variances there. But nothing matched Lisa's find. In June 2023, Heritage Auctions listed the coin for private bidding. Initially, the offers were modest, $5,000, $8,000, then $10,000. But when a rare coin investment group from California entered the scene, the stakes rose. By the time bidding closed, the final price left the numismatic community speechless, $96,000 a quarter. 25 cents. Sold for almost $100,000, and yet, it wasn't just about the money. It was about what the coin represented. This was a coin honoring a woman who gave voice to the voiceless. Who stood in her truth. Who lived through pain, prejudice, silence, and came out the other side singing. The very nature of the coin, flawed and rare, but shining, mirrored her journey. A perfect storm of artistry, timing, and sheer poetic justice. Today, the Maya Angelou quarter stands as more than just a numismatic milestone. It is a national keepsake. It speaks to the beauty of representation, the power of design, and the joy of discovery. You don't need to be rich to collect coins. You don't need to be an expert. Sometimes, all it takes is curiosity, a sharp eye, and a willingness to listen to what a little piece of metal is trying to tell you, because sometimes, a coin isn't just a coin. Sometimes, it's a story, and if you're lucky enough to find the right one, it could be worth a fortune. In the weeks and months after the record-breaking sale of the Maya Angelou quarter, something shifted, not just among collectors, but in the public imagination. For the first time in a long time, the average American looked down at their loose change with a spark of curiosity. What stories might be hiding there? What overlooked treasures were sitting inside the coin tray in their car, or rattling around in the laundry room? The Maya Angelou quarter ignited a quiet revolution, especially because it was born out of something so rare in our modern era: widespread inspiration. It wasn't just a coin honoring someone famous. It honored someone beloved. Angelou wasn't simply a historical figure, she was a voice of strength, honesty, resilience. Her words, often quoted and widely taught, had already carved deep grooves into the nation's collective memory. And now, she was immortalized in metal. Children began asking questions their parents hadn't expected. Who is Maya Angelou? Teachers started incorporating coin design into their history and literature lessons. Libraries created displays highlighting her books beside replica quarters. Even art museums began to see the coin not just as currency, but as a miniature sculpture, a piece of mobile art, traveling through the economy one pocket at a time. And at the heart of that cultural ripple stood the artist, Emily Damstra. Damstra, already an accomplished designer with work on other U.S. coins and Canadian currency, described the process of creating the Angelou quarter as one of the most deeply personal and professionally significant projects of my career. In interviews, she explained that she wanted to capture more than just Maya Angelou's likeness, she wanted to express her spirit. Her creative choices were intentional at every level. Angelou's raised arms, for instance, were not simply celebratory. They were symbolic of elevation, empowerment, a reaching toward the sky. The bird, so often caged in Angelou's writings, was now depicted soaring, liberated. It wasn't just referencing her most famous book. It was celebrating her personal triumph over silencing forces in her life: abuse, racism, sexism.